Hey there, welcome to Product Marketing Maestros, Tales from the Front Lines. I'm your host, 𝘃𝗵𝗵𝗁𝗁. As CEO at Caribou Strategic and author of the Amazon bestseller Product Marketing Wisdom, I've always found that real-world case studies are the true litmus test for the effectiveness of any product marketing strategy. And that is why in this show, we dive into the minds of industry titans, as well as rising stars, unpacking their expertise in action-packed episodes, showcasing the power of product marketing through real-world case studies. And today, my friends, we are joined by product marketing maestro, Michelle Zak. Michelle is a seasoned product marketer based in Chicago, specializing in early-stage startups. Her focus is on developing and refining a product's initial positioning, messaging, and go-to-market strategy. Currently, she is the Senior Director of Marketing at 𝘃𝗵𝗲, helping teams create meaningful human connections through times of growth. Michelle has been the founding marketer in both sales-led and product-led organizations, including the SaaS platform 𝘊𝑆 and legal edtech provider 𝘊𝑀𝒀𝗍. She's also an ambassador for the Product Marketing Alliance and a top-ranked mentor on ADP list, guiding marketers navigating small teams and startup environments. Outside of work, she enjoys hiking, gardening, and her morning espresso. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Michelle Zak. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Nitin. It's great to be here. Thanks for the intro. I'm ready to get into it.
Awesome, awesome, cool. So, Michelle, as we promised the audience, we will discuss a situation from your background. And once you pick the situation, we'll go through the antecedents, the behaviors, and the conclusion in the ABC framework. So, Michelle, pick a situation and tell us what were the antecedents, what were the prior challenges?
Yeah, so I thought I'd talk through something from when I first joined the company that I'm with right now, so 𝘃𝗵𝗏, which is a really early stage startup. And I joined them when they were looking to make a jump to their next stage of growth. And what we needed to do when I joined is narrow the scope of our ICP so that we knew exactly who we wanted to target to get from our first few customers to that next stage of customers. And so what happened when I joined is we didn't have that clear ICP definition. And in looking at existing customers, we didn't have a broad enough base to be able to draw sweeping conclusions about exactly who that target ICP should be. We actually had two. And we didn't have a critical mass enough of initial customers to be able to make a definitive choice out of those two yet. We also had a pretty common challenge among early stage startups, which is we didn't have a big enough initial audience to be able to test with our existing audience. We didn't have, for example, enough followers on LinkedIn to be able to push out content to test, or an email list that was big enough that we could push out things to test which ICP we really wanted to go with. So we needed to find another way to get enough information to decide who we wanted to go after, because as anyone who works for a startup knows, you gotta move fast. So we need to, we can't take our time here and do anything super involved that's going to be taking a long time. We also didn't have a crazy big budget, so we couldn't go externally to get support there or use, one of those really great user research platforms out there. We needed to do something else. And so that was sort of the challenge, one of the challenges when I first joined 𝘃𝗵𝗏.
Excellent. I love that. I think a lot of our audience may be struggling with that same challenge. So thank you, Michelle, for telling us about the antecedents. Now, Michelle, let's talk about the behaviors. How did the challenges guide your actions taken?
Yeah, so what I did is take those two segments that we had, really clearly defined who I thought those two potential segments were. And then I came up with two ways that I wanted to go after getting some information and some feedback to help pick which one we were going to go for and choose as our leading ICP. And so one of the ones was more traditional discovery. So I wanted to actually have some one-on-one conversations with potential customers to just learn more about the problem myself. They had done some before, but I wanted to do it under the scope of, here's these two distinct segments. Let's do research and compare what we're getting from those. So I reached out to my own network to have individual conversations, leverage different communities and organizations that our two target segments are a part of, and just had those one-on-one conversations about, very traditional questions. What are the challenges? How is this manifesting for you? What are you doing today? What is this, how does it affect your business? Those research traditional questions. But then because the company was already had a handful of customers and I wanted to keep our forward momentum, I didn't want to just pause and do this research. So I decided to also do an experiment around more of a go-to-market channel. So I wanted to do cold email outreach experiments. And that's a little bit trickier because it's introducing sort of a new unknown variables, right? We don't know if that's a channel that's going to work for us. So if I'm trying to figure out, is this ICP the right one? And I'm introducing this other unknown variable, it kind of muddies the waters a little bit. But I wanted us to keep our forward progress. And so instead of just asking questions of people of, what does this look like for you? I wanted to actually see if we could get people to buy. Or get on calls and respond to our messaging. So I took those two segments, developed a first pass of messaging, again, based on what we know from existing customers in those two segments, and set up some email sequences. I was able to really narrowly target some folks in those two categories and push out those sequences to see would they respond. And so those were sort of the two. I wanted to balance both of those types of efforts based on where we were as a company. That felt like the right approach instead of one or the other.
Excellent. I love that. So, Michelle, now bring it home. So tell us about the conclusion. How did the situation play out for you?
Yeah, so we got results from both, and because everything was clearly defined between those two segments, both efforts, I was able to combine, what we learned in both cases of like, what does this look like for potential customers? Are people actually responding when we put it out there, putting their money where their mouth is? Did our research actually manifest in some way? And we were able to pick a winning ICP, which was, who we're targeting, what size company. We also narrowed in on a stage for companies. So we wanted companies that were in a growth phase. That was sort of our like magical piece that we plugged in there at the end. And then the cool part was because we had tested that channel of email and we got some traction from that, we got enough to get results. We were able to build on that for our next stage of actually testing out our ICP and starting to move forward with it. So we were able to take that cold email and expand on it to make that multi-channel, to add in some LinkedIn outreach, to thread those two together, to add some content, to sort of beef up those efforts, to then take that messaging and layer it through to the website for the whole customer buyer journey. So we really had like that base already in there that we could then iterate upon for that next stage, now that we've narrowed in on one of those ICPs. So it really helped us, we made our winner and then we were already, sort of moving forward in one direction, and we could just build on that momentum and keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward. Love it. Absolutely fabulous. So thank you, Michelle, for that case study. Really, really helpful. So Michelle, if people wanted to find out more about you and what's next, where can they do that?
Yeah, the best place would probably be LinkedIn. I try to share over there other learnings, musings, and such around early stage product marketing, everything in that world. Being a solo product marketer and marketer on most teams, I'm always excited to connect with other folks, to have conversations that I don't always get to have with fellow product marketers and just folks in other spaces. So reach out on there. I'm always happy to chat, answer questions, or just have a general conversation.
Absolutely fabulous. So thank you, Michelle. Folks, there you have it. For even more insights, check out my Amazon bestseller, Product Marketing Wisdom, at productmarketingwisdom.com. And see you next time on Product Marketing Maestros.